Hi, I'm Bobby Jones, your host for Acme Architectural Hardware's podcast. Today we've got a special guest with us, Lloyd Raforth with Allegion. Welcome, Lloyd.
Thank you, Bobby.
Give us a little bit about yourself and your affiliation with Allegion.
Fantastic. Been in the industry about 48 years. Been with Allegion for probably 22, give or take. And not very many people are very familiar with Allegion. We were at one point part of Ingersoll Rand, the big corporation of Ingersoll Rand, and we were spun off from Ingersoll Rand about 6.5 years ago. Best thing that ever happened to us, so that's enabled us to do a lot of things we weren't able to do connected to the big corporation. So that's kind of how Allegion became about.
Now, the website, if somebody's looking for you, us.allegion.com. That's Allegion with 2 L's. Some of the brands that are covered under the Allegion banner.
Sure. We feel like we have the best brands in the industry with Von Duprin. Everybody's heard of Schlage, typically, LCN, Falcon, Doormatic, Steelcraft, Republic Door. We're constantly acquiring companies as well. We just acquired 2 new companies, AD Systems, a series of sliders for healthcare industry, and then TPG, Technical Glass Products, fire-rated glass and things like that. And there are some more on the horizon.
Are we looking at any changes or anything like that in the online presence for Allegion?
Online presence is a big focus for us this year. We're going through what we refer to as a digital transformation. So more and more we're going to digital media for different things. So we have various different websites. The product we're about to show has its own website as well. We are doing more and more with instructions. We've realized that in a lot of our products, nobody looks at the instructions. So we're more and more putting barcodes and things like that and different things on the boxes where they can go look at them from a media standpoint. So most everybody carries their smartphones. We have smartphone apps for just about all of our different products where if somebody's out on a job site, they can pick up their phone, go to their smartphone app, pull up installation instructions, data sheets, things like that, and be able to see even link to YouTube videos where they can watch different things. We have multiple different YouTube video channels on various products, especially Schlage, Von Duprin, and LCN. Even the product we're going to show today, you can pull up a YouTube video and see how to add, delete credentials, see how to install an automatic operator, how to install an exit device, how to adjust the rods on an exit device, so on and so on. So we're big in digital transformation right now. From a sales standpoint, we're also big in moving more to Microsoft Teams meetings where we can set up a meeting with a customer, an architect, and go through Microsoft Teams and actually be able to see them and talk to them and interact with them, share screens with them and things like that. So we're all aboard about digital transformation.
That's awesome. This is going to be a banner year for you guys on the internet.
We're excited.
Online presence. That's great. Well, let's take a look at what you brought us today.
Okay.
This is. I'll let you go ahead and introduce us to.
Okay. This is what we call our Engage line of portfolio products. So we currently have an existing mechanical line in all of these areas. So what we're looking at here today is our cylindrical version. The mechanical cylindrical version is known as the ND lock. We also have a mortise version that's known as an L lock for the mechanical side. So now these are the electronic versions. So now this is an NDE for electronic lock, and then we have an LE for the electronic version of the mortise lock. So we also have a controller that we'll talk about later on too. So the whole idea behind our Engage portfolio of products is basically access control in a box. It's a simple line. Pull the lock out of the box, install the lock on the door. Everything is managed by this Engage app. It's a free app. You have online capabilities, you have a mobile app, you have a web portal. Because there's any one of 3 different ways to manage these portfolio of products. Number 1, utilizing Bluetooth Low Energy with your mobile app. Number 2, we can install it in a facility and Wi-Fi enable the lock, and it will communicate via Wi-Fi through the building's Wi-Fi. And then third-party access control with enterprise software platforms. So we can We have a gateway that communicates with the products, Bluetooth Low Energy, that's tied to an access control panel, and we have about 30 some odd different enterprise software platforms that we're compatible with.
Now, looking at this lock, this is just based on the standard grade 1 ND series cylindrical lever set. You do offer this in a variety of keying options as well. Is that correct?
Correct. And just to touch on what you said about based on the mechanical chassis, both the NDE series and the L series mortise version, both are designed to go into existing preps that are already there without any additional holes. The idea being you can integrate access control, take the mechanical lock off, put the electronic lock on, and if at a later point they change their mind and decide to take it back off, you haven't ruined a door. So designed with all that, with all the same features that the mechanical lock has as far as different keying systems that you alluded to. So we can integrate any one of a small format IC core or a large format IC core, standard core, and even competitive cores. So we can interchange and order this lock configured to any one of the competitive cores as well. All of these products, I say all of them, the NDE and the LE, are all on the door products. So everything you need is here. Request to exit, request to enter, the lock, the reader assembly, and everything is all right here in one little nice package. And it communicates wirelessly, so no getting wires to the door, things like that. All of ours work off of 4 standard AA batteries. They'll typically give you about 80,000 activations and about 2 years worth of life. When they get low, we don't just beep a light or beep a noise at you or anything like that. We create what we call a nuisance feature. So as the batteries get low, you'll present a credential, and instead of getting an instant green light, it'll start beeping red, blinking red at you and delay you getting in. We figure if we delay people getting in, they're going to bring that to somebody's attention. So
that's a smart feature. Now, for anybody who might be in the property management or leasing part of the industry that's looking at this, is this available in different designs and finishes and things like that?
Yes.
We've got different lever designs?
Yes, we have all the standard lever designs that we have in the mechanical line, as well as all the different finishes. We call them warm finishes and smooth finishes and things like that. And then you mentioned property management. So the ideal scenario for this is an existing property, maybe a large building that has access control already currently on the exterior, and they're already currently using a specific credential, but maybe they want to come into a specific floor and identify a small number of doors that maybe they want to control and have access control, use the same credential, but they don't want to tie into the enterprise system on the exterior. They can come in, purchase the electronic version of the lock, take the mechanical lock off, put this in, download the app, and they're in business. So that way they can control it and manage it themselves without having to involve the enterprise software provider.
I notice you've got a number of different credentials there. I'm looking at a card and a fob. You've got different options for activation as well.
We do. This lock is available right out of the box to work with proximity credentials, the 125 megahertz proximity credentials, as well as the 13 gigahertz smart credentials. We have plastic fobs. We have all different size cards. We even have tags that you can put on a mobile phone, as well as we're going to have a new mobile-enabled Bluetooth credential coming out in the next month or two. So
that's awesome. This is it's substantial. This is a beautiful piece of hardware. And you offer this in cylindrical, mortise, and you've got a controller as well.
That's correct. We call it the CTE controller. So we cover cylindrical and we cover mortise, just like our mechanical cousins. And then we have, so what if you have a door that's like an aluminum frame glass door, or maybe you have a door with electric strike, or maybe a door with electrified exit device, anything like that. So we do have a single door controller that's a hardwired controller that hooks up to a power supply, and you run a series of wires to it from the different sensors and electronic locks and things like that. But it's still managed in the same technology. So that controller still could be up in the ceiling and communicate via Bluetooth Low Energy with your mobile app, or Wi-Fi enable it with the web app, or tie it to a third-party access control.
That is awesome. you guys have really kind of thought of everything, and you've got some new stuff coming up with this.
We do. This is going to be our platform moving forward from here on out. So eventually, I think we're working on an exit device version of this. Currently, for an exit device, we have to use the controller and have to run some hard wires and things to it, but we are working on a version that will be a retrofit to the exterior of an exit device. We're working on a narrow style aluminum frame project, so that's something we haven't had for a while.
That is going to open up all kinds of markets for you guys with that aluminum frame application, as well as integrating this with the Von Duprin line of exit devices. Do you want to
Sure
throw a couple credentials at it? Let's see how this thing works.
One of the cool things that we have with this lock is the ability to program different function credentials for it to do different things depending on what you're trying to do. So just a standard user credential will gain you access for X number of seconds, then it'll lock back. So in certain instances, maybe you want to unlock it for an extended period of time. So we have what's called a toggle credential. So a toggle credential will toggle the lock unlocked, and this lock is going to stay unlocked until I toggle it back to locked. So kind of a nice function. We also have what's called a freeze credential. So an example would be if this is on, say, an exercise room in a multifamily environment, and maybe you have a damaged piece of equipment in there and you don't want the normal users in there, so management can come in and freeze the lock. And what that's going to do is freeze out all the normal users that would typically try to come in there. So a normal user would come up and I had the normal user. Normal user would come up and have a blinking red light. So the blinking red light is blinking multiple times, telling them, guess what, you're an authorized user, but management has you locked out for whatever reason. Now, management being management, they have a pass-through credential. So when the lock is frozen, they have a pass-through credential that'll get them in that scenario. Then at that whatever point they come about and need to unlock it again, you just take the freeze credential back, unlock the lock, and it's back just like it was.
Back to normal function.
Mm-hmm.
That is truly ingenious.
We're pretty proud of that.
I can imagine that you would be. Your engineers are probably beaming when they hear us talking about these things.
They will be excited.
I can imagine. You guys have got some other things in the works for this coming year, don't you?
We do. We have a lot of things. So, we have a current line now that's been around for about 8 years, our ADs and our CO locks, and it's about time for a refresh on them. So the current AD wireless version works on a 900 megahertz frequency, and it's tied to third-party access control as well, and we're going to try to bring the Engage technology into it. So one of the things that Engage can do as well, we just added some features to the Engage app, being able to do time schedules as well as auto unlocks and locks. So we can put this lock on a door and have it unlock automatically at 8 o'clock, have it lock back at 5. I can give you a credential that only works Monday through Friday, 8 to 12, your working hours or whatever, and, go from there. So
like those banker's hours.
Yes. We're trying not to make it fully featured software, so there's no real-time communication. For instance, if you Wi-Fi enable it in a building, it will only communicate once every 24 hours. So we're trying to not encroach upon our enterprise software people. So we're trying not to make it, it is a free app after all, so you kind of get what you pay for, but it's got enough features to do what we want it to do.
It definitely has its own niche market. And now, we've touched on key systems before. Mm-hmm. Allegion's pressing pretty hard and heavy forward in key systems this year, aren't you?
We are. We feel like we have probably the most versatile key system on the market with our Schlage key systems. We have a large number of specification writers in each of our offices across the U.S. that write specifications for different facilities. Our primary customer is schools, healthcare, anything large, high traffic, high abuse scenarios and things. And with our Schlage key systems, we have a lot of seated Schlage key systems out there. So our focus this year is going toward kind of the locksmith market and things like that. We have a locksmith program that's fairly new for us, and we're gearing it toward trying to get some of those target locksmiths to start leading and taking advantage of the features and benefits of a Schlage key system. With the Schlage key system, you don't have a real fancy key machine for high security keys. You don't have a fancy expensive pin kit. You can integrate high security locks into a Schlage system and give them one master key that works the high security side as well as the standard security side. We have them available in all the formats that you mentioned, the small format, large format IC cores, things like that. We even have a new product out, and without getting real confusing, we can now integrate small format best type cores with a standard cylinder. We have special pins for it because we need to get 7 pins in there. So we have a new system that we can integrate small format with standard cylinders and not have to change the entire hardware set out. So kind of excited about that.
Bring some of that stuff with you next time you stop in to see us. I'd love to see those.
I will.
Those get my hands on those. Well, guys, that gives us a really good overview of where Allegion is headed this coming year. Some exciting things happening in the access control market and in the key systems market. Again, that's us.allegion.com. Thank you again for visiting with us today, Lloyd. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
And podcast at aahdw.com. If you've got any questions, comments, or show ideas, send us a line. Thank you much.